I've been to many countries. This is the only one that welcomes you at the border. Step one, of course, just to take the road bench. The sunset is pretty awesome. You see, up north we don't have it. So I got off the airplane and they claimed there was a shuttle bus, but there was nothing saying shuttle bus. I emailed the hotel and of course they didn't reply. So I'm going and walking to this very cool structure. I mean, look at that garbage can. Architecture, you guys! Only in Eastern Europe does your window fully open within eye reach of train tracks onto a highway with the most beautiful setting sun. Man, traveling out here is hard. And it was about this time where I didn't realize my mic had died, and it had. So I'm going to be doing some voiceover in the part of this video that didn't actually capture the audio. I do remember what I said because what I said is iconic, obviously. So take a look at the train that we are taking into Bucharest, the city. So we have just gotten off the train station and I was a little bit turned around in here trying to get out of it. It reminded me of Gare du Nord, actually, in Paris. And outside of the city, we see some really cool brutalist architecture already starting to appear, and I immediately knew this was going to be an epic trip. Just taking a left down one of these streets, check out this brutalist architecture structure right next to an Art Nouveau architecture. We're going to learn more why we see such a contrast of this architecture style in Bucharest as the day goes on. And as we continue to walk down the road, we see a bunch of other cool buildings. And one thing I really like about Bucharest so far is that I have not seen another city like this, like we've seen in the Baltic countries, or even in parts of more Eastern Europe up north. But it did go through its period of communism, which you can see inspired from all of the brutalist architecture that's still here and in actually really, really good shape. So in both World War I and World War II, Bucharest was home base to some of the more baddie powers, the Axis powers, the Nazis, which is why we see a lot of the brutalist architecture built up surrounded by Art Nouveau. But the thing to realize is that I'm about to take a right-hand turn here into this random yard of beautiful buildings, an open fence, and look at all these puertas, that's abierto. I'm wondering if we can go inside. I mean, there's so much history in here that has to be just hiding, waiting for me to explore. You see, we see so much of this history of this brutalist architecture that was built after a bunch of the city was wiped out in World War II. Bucharest was a haven, I guess, for the Axis powers, and the Allied powers bombed the city heavily throughout World War II, destroying a bunch of the older Art Nouveau and other really cool buildings. Whenever the communists came in, they built all of these brutalist architecture style buildings. And within that, there's so much history just hiding here, because why would you take your belongings if you need to go move somewhere else? Look at all this cool graffiti in here. And it's about this time where a security guard came up to me and laughed at me and was like, "What are you doing here?" And I showed him my vlogging set and he's just like, no, leave. So I actually have no idea where I was at. Sorry, I didn't see any signs not to go in there. So Now we're gonna go explore a different part of the city because I hear that in Bucharest they actually have some of the old communist era mosaics standing here. And there's some really cool stuff about mosaics that you guys absolutely need to see. So let's finish our walk and get over to these mosaics. So in front of us here, we see the most beautiful mosaics from the communist era. Now, the thing about communist era mosaics, this existed as part of just every brutalist architecture building that was built during communist era. And we'll see even more mosaics as we continue to explore our journey in Bucharest. Basically, the communists put mosaics in a lot of the buildings and on a lot of the buildings to make them look more glamorous. They were trying to show that they were the best nation. No other nations had stuff like this. And one of the beautiful things about mosaics is that it takes years for someone to even put this together. It's a very delicate craftsmanship and art style. You see, all of the brutalist architecture buildings I find brilliantly built because they could go up fast. They required low-skilled labor compared to a lot of the Art Nouveau that required a very high-skilled labor person. But then on the front of these buildings and inside the buildings, these mosaics showed signs of hope, of joy, of happiness, of how good communism was and how good the people in the system at the current time had it. So in terms of art and propaganda and government, it's such a fascinating experience to see all of this, and one as big as this just hanging out here for us to see in full setup and hasn't been torn down yet. This is beautiful. Thank you, Bucharest. This is amazing. I am so happy. Okay, at a later time, I will do a full video on mosaics because I could nerd out on art, and mosaics go back thousands of years in history. But in the meantime, check out this massive intersection I have to cross. There's about 15 lanes of traffic in here. And whenever they say the traffic in Bucharest is terrible, I think I see what they mean. I mean, I drive in a lot of places and this is epic. Just take a look at this traffic circle in front of us. Wow. And as we continue our walk through the city, I'm walking by a bunch of government buildings and parks, and I really want to go into one of these to learn a little bit more about Bucharest, because it's hard to learn a neutral perspective about a city whenever media is very propaganded. Look at this. In this park, we see a dead poet society of a lot of famous people staring at each other. That's cool. More Art Nouveau buildings. This one's beautiful, structured right next to one that has amazing restoration on it. Now, the internet says that Bucharest has ranked in the top cities of in desperate need of restoration for the last 2 or 3 years. And as I'm walking on the streets, I can absolutely see what they mean. I mean, just look at this mansion. There's a nice fountain out front, nice decor. I'm sneaking my camera through the bars. Look at that. Just look at that. There's an open window here. I'm not sure if you can see it. There's no smoke coming out, so someone may be living here for free. Just beautiful, beautiful architecture. Ooh, here we go. Here looks to be an open palace of history. Let's try to go in. Ooh, a message. It doesn't look like there's a puerta. That's abierto though. Oh, c'est la vie. Maybe I'll come back tomorrow. We'll just look at the building for now anyway. It's probably closed for Christmas holidays. Yep, closed. Oh well. We'll go admire this horse across the street. Every good European city has a giant man on a horse on a green statue standing in front of something, so people can take pictures of him. And here is one of the many statues in Bucharest. Enjoy. At this point, I got sick of hearing cars, so I decided to take a random left turn into this awesome looking alleyway. Just wait. There was music coming from the end of it, which you can't hear because I clearly messed up my mic during the time. There was some people in front of me too, so I was like, maybe I found a local spot. Looking up on the buildings, we can probably see that there's a bunch of residential stuff. Love the graffiti Bucharest. I love that you've kept it. It gives your city a vibe that I am digging so hard. In front of us though, we see something that I saw in Amman that made me so happy. It's this trail of umbrellas on top of us. I guess it'd be a ceiling of umbrellas. So let's take a look at this. Look! Bucharest, etymology-wise, means city of joy. And so far, stuff like this brings me so much joy. So well done, Bucharest, to live true to your name. In front of us, we see another really important statue on a green pillar. I was trying to figure out what exactly this was, and the tour guide I was listening to was trying to explain it in French, and I really didn't know all of those words yet. So I just took a nice video of it, and I'll figure that out later. One of the things that you'll notice in the graffiti that you'll see in this video is the year 1989. 1989 was iconic for Bucharest, as when she gained her independence from the communists, whenever they threw out the Communist Party, and they celebrate the year very intensely. And yeah, so that's why you see the year 1989 around here. And as we're continuing to walk forward in front of us, what you'll see upcoming is a very cool church. Now, I'm not fluent in religion, but I do know that Romanian Orthodox is a whole lot different than Catholicism. It's different than Russian Orthodox. It's different than Greek Orthodox. It's a little bit different. So I'm going to go and explore and see if I can learn anything about the religion in this church. And if not, just take some cool photos. Now, of course, I want to respect every religion. I don't want to film inside the church, but it smelled so good. You guys, I've been to so many different churches around the world, and the smell of the incense that burns in these Romanian churches, 10 out of 10. But wait, whoa. Look at this. There's a strip club on a tetanus pole. So you could go get some entertainment as long as you have a tetanus shot. That's marketing for big pharma if I've ever heard it. Right now, as you can see, we are in Oldtown. Oldtown is part of the town that has been mostly preserved, and there's a bunch of old stuff in here. I really hope we can get into one of these museums that hopefully may be open today. I'm seeing more tourists around and hearing more languages apart from Romanian, so I'm guessing that someone may have opened something for us to go see today. Yay! But wait, you guys, check this out. Look at this. Bucharest has their own covers for getting into the floor. Okay, that's awesome. I've never seen that in another city yet. This is a cool building. I think it's the old credit union. But look at this structure. Like, my camera does a shit job at showing you how majestic it is, but it's awesome, so just believe me on that. Next to that really cool building sits this, what looks like a Greek Orthodox building. And it actually turns out that it was built by some Greek Orthodox priest who came in here and built the temple up. Outside of Greece, though, I have never seen a structure preserved so well as this. You see, when I was in Greece, everyone told me there that theirs was the best preserved structures for old churches and stuff. No. Bucharest, you're doing something right here. This is fantastic. What? Okay, let's go take a look inside. I mean, just look at this architecture and this art. All of this is hand carved and hand painted and hand redone. My lens will refocus. There it goes. Look at this door. It's nearly 1,000 years old. And I touched it. Okay, let's go in and see. Now, after I was in, there was a lady and she said that we could take video. So this is the inside of what an Orthodox church looks like. The video just does a terrible job. I stood here for so many minutes just staring at the art. The ceiling is covered in lapis lazuli, very similar to what we saw back in Turkey. And there's more, like so much cool stuff here. So outside the church, there's a burial ground, and one thing that you should probably note about how Romanian Orthodox bury their loved ones. So for the first year, you don't get a gravestone on your grave, you just get a simple cross. And then for the next year, the family works to figure out how they want to put the gravestone on your grave. I'm not entirely sure why this is. I'm not a master in religions, but I really think it's cool that Romania has their own culture and they've stuck to this for so long. Now we're walking by a bunch of old gravestones that have been the burial ground for people in the past. As these are located in the churchyard, I'm assuming that they're for very important people of the church, possibly the architect and the people who have also restored the building to the what we see today. Now, as we walk around the corner, there's something really cool ahead of us that I want to show you guys. Check this out. We'll look up just a little bit and we see some sort of like a fresco or a secco of a really old painting that's falling apart, obviously, but so cool. Outside the church, as we're walking downtown, I actually kind of followed a tour guide sneakily and learned why Bucharest is on one of the top cities in desperate need of restoration. So we see these super cool Art Nouveau houses. Now, the reason why a lot of them aren't restored is because a lot of these places are owned by multiple people. Now, it could be multiple siblings or cousins, or it could be friends. If the house wants to be restored, there must be a unanimous vote by everyone living in that establishment or owning that establishment for it to be repaired. And a lot of people don't want to invest in repairing a building whenever they could be investing their money into going to buy a cruise ship or going to go see other cities or go travel or go do other stuff. So that's because of the laws in Romania. That's why we see all of these buildings like it is today, and I find that fascinating. Now, my quest for a washroom ended up at this open history museum. And at first, it was so cool. We enter this pile of Christmas on my face. All of these are little Christmas cards and Christmas stamps. There was a toy museum exhibit that I ran into randomly, and it was just joy, city of joy, Bucharest. And then I found all of this cool old church art. I did pay for a ticket to get in, but no one checked my ticket, so I think I snuck into the museum backwards. I tried to get a very cool photo of this thingy in my camera, and I kind of succeeded and I kind of didn't, and I didn't really, I don't know. Just ignore me here. There we go. So what we're gonna see is this massive colonnade. And I've been to Greece, I've been to Rome, I've been to a bunch of old places. I have never seen anything in my life that is like this. So this is what it used to look like. And check this out, you guys. This used to be a massive structure to represent this huge storytelling of capturing something. So I'm explaining here how around the museum you can see how the different plates are put together. All of the plates that existed on this pillar that stood up, towering hundreds of meters in the air, still exist here. And you can go see them and see how they connect together. Look at this. What the fuck? I've never seen anything like this. So as each circle around the pillar shows, it shows a different story of people building things, of people working, of people building a new village, of people building a ship, capturing a village, hunting, just doing everything day-to-day life. Just imagine how epic this must have been standing in the year like 100 CE. Like, it's epic now. Just think about how it was then. Now, while Romania was never part of the Ottoman Empire, was never part of the USSR, it was part of the Roman-occupied area, part of the Greek Empire. And so we see a bunch of stuff here that we would see in Italy, that we would see in Athens. So there's a lot of different, as you can see, Greek arches, inscriptions on tombstones. In front of us sits a sarcophagus. This one looks like it was probably for a woman of importance. Other pillars and archways that stood in this whole colonnade area. I love how close you can get to this stuff here. I really like how the museum trusts you not to destroy it, but you can get up close, personal, and just look at such details in here. Like, you can see chisel marks, you can see how really cool stuff is here. I mean, just look how close we can get to this guy and see the intricacy and the grapes and the fingers and his doggy. Aww, look at him. Based on what I know, I believe this is a sarcophagus meant for a child. All of the cherubs around singing the child off into the afterlife. Again, this colonnade, you guys. You must go see this. This is the most epic piece of architecture I've seen all year, I think. Now downstairs, we have this crown, epic crown, baller crown. But next to it, we have this cool box. Now this guy's like, woohoo! This guy is the love of my life. He's like, fuck this, I've been standing here for so long, I just need a beer. Get me out of here. Okay, we got out of there. So let's go explore a different part of the city. Yay! So by this point, I had been walking for a very long time, trying to get to the Parliament building. I've heard it's epic. I wanted to go see it. Now, as we're walking along this massive road, there's parks on both sides. There's actually 2 lanes of walking on both sides of the colonnades. All of the architecture on both sides is built in the Brutalist Architecture style. It all looks the same. Now, whoa. What is this in front of us? This must be the Parliament. Now, this massive Parliament building was built by the former dictator of Romania, Nicolae Ceausescu. And one of the things about this is that it is one of the largest Parliament buildings in the world. Super, super heavy. Whenever he built it, Nicolae, who we're just going to call Nick the Knob because that's kind of what he was, Nick the Knob destroyed a bunch of the Old Town. He didn't give a shit of any old historic stuff that was there. He just decided to go in and build whatever the hell he wanted to do. So a bunch of people living in the Old Town, a bunch of old historic houses were destroyed. Now, when he built this, he also added in a bunch of fountains leading up to the Parliament. And here we see a bunch of old communist mosaics sitting here. It's obviously winter when I went, so there's no water in this, but in the summer, all of these fountains are flowing and they're beautiful, and these mosaics make the whole experience even more better and more artful. Now, in my attempt to get into the Parliament building, I ran across these whitewashed trees. Now, this is super iconic in Romania. So in the springtime, all of the bottoms of the trees are painted white. And while I don't really know why they're painted white, this is done around the Easter time frame, and it's part of like spring cleaning. There's also pesticide reasons on why you would paint the bottom of the tree white, to keep the bugs off of the trees, to keep the mold off of the trees. I think it's super iconic that the tradition of painting the bottom of the trees white is still followed here. In front of us, we see an old communist era lamppost that likely works still. Yay! Just look at it. All sparkly. And here I am embarking on trying to get into the Parliament building. This is not the entry, but they told me that the entry is just around the corner, so I continued to walk. Although whenever they said around the corner, I think I messed up some of the Romanian that I used to know, because I think they said to go right and not left. I ended up walking around the entire Parliament building, which is around 5 kilometers. I think it was just like a kilometer away. But I finally made it in, and look at how epic this building is. The camera does a terrible, terrible job at showing you how cool it is. I tried to get in. Turns out that you need to book tickets like 2 weeks in advance to get in. Oh well. If you decide to go visit the Parliament building though, bring your passport or a EU issued ID. You can't just go in and expect to go in. So the river we're walking next to actually is a river. You see, back in the 1800s, Bucharest kept getting flooded by this river here. And so what they ended up doing was putting a bunch of dams in the river so they could keep the water supply coming to the city and not get flooded. So while it looks very engineered and very mechanical today, nope, actually a live river running there just with engineering. And we're now entering another monastery. I love these. Mosaics. We should go into a history of mosaics and where they come from at some point, because we've seen a lot of them throughout our journeys this year. One day I'll do that when I'm doing less travel and more staying at home. So all of these candles are emitting a very nice scent, which only I can smell. This is not a mosaic, but this is Jesus, not in a cage. again, that was the coolest church. And I'm not gonna take photos or videos in there because that's just weird. Let's talk about Romania and religion. So, while about 92% of people living in Romania claim to be Romanian Orthodox, only about 8% of the population goes to church. I find it such a contrast compared to Czechia, where there's so many churches and no one goes. And here we just have a few churches and not that many people go. But as it's close to Christmas time, when we're visiting High Holy Holiday, a lot of people go and check up with the baby Jesus. So let's go explore somewhere else. And after another hour-ish of walking, we've reached a cool clock. And in front of us, we see the Zodiac Fountain. You see, only in the water signs does this fountain actually exist. But along the tiles underneath, we can see all 12 signs of the Zodiac. This was before Zodiac was redone, so apologies to any astrology pros watching. I think this looks pretty cool. All of the tiles on the Zodiac are, here we'll go to the best sign and zoom in a little bit. Coming for you, Leo. Wait for me. Wait for me. I guess I could have gone the other way. Sorry. Running into things on the floor. Leo. Hi. Or left of the fountain, we see a very tall tower. We saw a similar one like this in Lithuania, so maybe we should go check it out. I guess we should go roll it out. Rolling. Because we're not in Czech anymore. I don't see any pavements to cross. I'm alive. So ahead of us stands something that's pretty cool. So while most countries affected by World War I and World War II have a tomb to the unknown soldier, they're a little bit smaller. This is the one in Bucharest, and the camera doesn't really capture how big it is. At the top of this tower that you'll see, zoom in a little bit maybe, you see a tiny little flame. It gets bigger as we go there though. So this is the eternal flame and it never burns. Now during communist era, this place was the burial place of some famous communist leaders, which is weird to be a famous communist, but anyway. After Romania got control of her government back, they moved out all of those bodies, probably, I don't know where, just somewhere else. And it became a memorial site once again for the tomb of the unknown soldier. So, like many other countries, on Veterans Day or Remembrance Day or Day of the Remembering, the president of Romania comes up here, lays a wreath, there's a huge ceremony. So we're gonna go climb up the stairs. I will not record my cardio doing that. And take a look. So, we are off to explore some more architecture today. Yay! Now, I would like to give you more information about the Brutalist architecture style, as we will walk down this beautiful road. So, whenever the USSR was trying to grow its establishments, it decided to go basically make a handbook on how they were doing their government and how other countries should do their government also. So this was like the communistic handbook. And whenever a bunch of countries were rebuilding after World War II, they gave this handbook to them. And a lot of the countries in the Balkans, as we learned earlier this year, applied that handbook. They gave the handbook also to Romania. See, for the USSR to be friendly with Romania, it would mean that the Soviets had direct access to the Black Sea, to the Mediterranean, and great trading routes. So that's why we see a lot of the Brutalist architecture here, even though Romania was never part of the USSR. History lesson over. Out of breath talking. This house is cool. Check this out. It's one of our first buildings I've seen of Transylvanian architecture. Cool. Okay, we're gonna go for a little nature break. We've been in the city for too long. We have some artwork. We have a shade hider. So I found this really cool building with some signs, and I was going up and reading it, and all these policemen were starting to stare at me. Turns out that I found the Russian embassy, but there was a super cool history of Russia and Romania's history, and yeah, maybe oopsie. But in front of me, there's something, look how happy I look. Guys, I found the Embassy of Canada! Welcome home, bitches! Yeah, I definitely had a little soft, gentle tear here. It's always good to see the maple leaf flying strong. I walked around the embassy for a while. I did have my passport with me, so if there was someone who came out and was like, "Why are you videoing our embassy?" I'd be like, I'm just home. True North, strong and free. And as we continue our walk forward, we are approaching the Arc de Triomphe. So this was built to commemorate World War I victories and ending of World War I. You see, at the end of World War I, it really did impact Romania, because with the end of World War I, the Austria-Hungarian Empire was also dissolved, which means with the dissolution of that, Romania got a bunch of her land back from that was overtaken by Austro-Hungary, and then also some of the land that was taken whenever the Ottoman Empire dissolved as part of whenever the Balkan War ended. So if I were to say like which war was most impactful for Romania, as an outsider, of course, I would say it's World War I. And the epicness of this arch here is like, it's awesome. In the high tourist season, you can cross this very dangerous zebra stripe crossing and go climb stairs in it. I successfully crossed this road. I mean, I'm alive. I crossed the road. The stairs were closed though. So instead I just got a bunch of really cool video to show you how intricate it is and how awesome it is. And yeah, it's a pretty cool site. Outside of the Arc de Triomphe, there's this massive park. Now, one thing that they say about Bucharest is that it's on the lower scale for livable cities. So it's ranked around 100 to 110th in terms of livability. Now, with a city of 2 million registered inhabitants, about 1 million people who are just there for work, and then probably about another 1 or 2 million people who are not registered, having a city livability index that low isn't great. The reason why they say it's that low is because of lack of green space and parks. And I mean, just look around me at this massive park that we're in. I've lived in London for a significant part of my life, and I can tell you that London has less green space than so far what I've encountered in Bucharest. So I'm not entirely certain what else that livability index is, but this park was epic, and I spent a bunch of time in here. So, on the other side of the park, we're actually able to see Nick the Knob's old mansion that just he and his family lived in. Now, next to the mansion, the part of the front yard has recently been given to the Iraq embassy, and the windows on this, you guys, look at these windows. This is pretty cool. I heard a noise coming out of this way. And, you know, there's toilets, so why not? Hey, look, mosaics on the floor! I can only imagine what the inside's gonna look like if there's mosaics on the floor in the front of his mansion. I mean, just look at this thing. What? This is beautiful. Man, I do not endorse communism, but their architecture is awesome. Pavo Royale! Cuckoo! Cuckoo! I tried to get up a little closer with the peacock, but he did not seem too friendly with me, so I backed off and, you know, gave him his distance. Some people are introverts. Thanks for being pretty, though. So then I also decided to sneak in the back entrance of the mansion while I was waiting for my tour to start. And along the walls, you can see all of these leaders that have been in here. Communist leaders, leaders from the West, leaders from the East. It's crazy to think about how much history took place in this very ornately decorated mansion. Mosaics on the floors everywhere. The tour of Nick the Knob's mansion was amazing. It was only shortly after this did the tour guide say we couldn't take video. So enjoy the only video that you'll see. The carpets in here were so ornately decorated. Photos, though, on the other hand, were totally fun. So enjoy this majestic photo tour of the mansion and what was considered luxury during communist era. In the pool alone, there were over 1 million mosaics decorating the entire area of the pool. The bathrooms, there was something obsessive with being pink. Massive fountains outside, decorated with the most beautiful mosaics. Now, these aren't gold mosaics, but they are gold covered, so they look like they're gold. And here in front of us, we see the Romanian version of Dead Poets Society. Ha ha ha, joke. Nope, all of these are famous people who did cool stuff for the state. Here in this area, when it was being ran by the communists, as we can see identified by the stars here. There was a head of Stalin that sat here, and then after he was overturned and died, that head was removed and replaced with better people. Now, I've been traveling in a lot of Eastern Europe, former Soviet countries, former communist countries this entire trip. And what I can appreciate about Bucharest is that she's kept true to herself. She hasn't tried to westernize herself in order to fit in with the Western world. No, Bucharest is pure, and it's such an amazing country that I really appreciate how she's rebuilt after a really hard and dreadful time of communism. Yay! I got some money. I got in, and now we're going to explore a bunch of old houses from the villager perspective of Romania. So all of these houses that we see here were actual villager houses, and they were transported here to the museum for preservation and for other people to enjoy. Here's some old farm tools and a wagon. I find it cool that a country would do that. Now, over here, it looks like something what we would find in Andalusia. Fascinating with the whitewash walls, the black decorating on the brick side, except the difference here is that we see the iconic triangle thingy for the Transylvanian type roof. Maybe we can see inside. We can't go in because it's being redone. Now we're talking. Put me in a picnic basket and put me to sleep. Roof house. Cross into our neighbor's yard. For some reason, I think this log looks like an old man. And as we continue to walk around this museum, it's fascinating to see the different styles of architecture that come from around different parts of Romania, and just to see a different style of living. It really makes me want to go explore more of the rural side of Romania and get out of the city to see what it's like on the outside. Well, I am certain you can figure out I'm tired by the lack of dad jokes and banter I currently have. I am finishing up my tour of the Village Museum here, and then I'm gonna go and find some food and then get back to the airport. I have a super early flight tomorrow where I will go adventure and explore something new. I hope you guys enjoyed this super short tour of Bucharest, because I know I for sure did. There's so much to see in this city, and it's so full of rich history that Western media does a terrible job at representing. So if you're looking for a tourist destination to go see next year or this year or wherever, highly, highly, highly recommend coming here. It's a great city, it's affordable, the people are super friendly and super nice, so come check it out. See you next time.